All right, welcome everybody to Dave Cooper Live Product Spotlight. It is Wednesday, and today we have a wonderful show with you. We are going to Nevada, virtually speaking, to Boxabl, and today we're going to talk about affordable housing. We're going to talk about a solution that has not really ever been put out there the way that Boxabl is doing it. And today's special guest, Galiano Tiramani, the founder of Boxabl, will be joining us in just a moment. So if you would, please hit that like and share button one more time. That way everybody out there knows that we're live, and we're only a few short of subscriptions on our YouTube channel. So please go there and subscribe if you haven't already. It's super important for us to keep growing and talking about where we are heading in this industry, because at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, the building science, building codes, and the tech used to build it better. We are always seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and discovering all of the ways that innovative buildings come to life. And when I say come to life, today's buildings do come to life. Now, we can't do this without our sponsors. So I want to say thank you to our sponsors. If we can, they are great. We welcome them and we love them so much. Forward Solutions Group, Ben Hershey and Joe Butler. They are a team with more than 175 years of experience developing and specifying manufacturing for panelized and volumetric modular industries with best practices in development and implementation. They offer consulting with investors, developers, manufacturers, and builders, and using offsite manufacturing methods. Forward Solutions is driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Please reach out to Ben and Joe. You can reach Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. And also a big thank you to Howick. Howick is a pioneer in the technology of precision light steel roll forming machines. For over 40 years, their commitment to innovation in cold form steel, also known as light gauge steel, precision manufacturing, uncompromising quality, and exemplary customer service have defined the Howick way. Their commitment underpins the competitive advantage enjoyed by their customers. To learn more, visit their website, howickltd.com. So without further ado, thank you to our sponsors. Let's hop on with Galiano, and let's get started on our conversation. Galiano Tiramani, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
I love it. Thank you for being on the show. I'm a little tongue-tied today. I don't know what's going on, but having fun with it. So, Galiano, we are looking forward to talking about what Boxabl is doing. You guys are in the process of building out a big manufacturing facility, which is almost ready. You have orders from every state in the country. And some other things happening. So before we hop into this, though, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. And please do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we will call your mother. Go ahead, but you only got 2 minutes to do it.
All right, cool. Well, I won't go back all the way to the hospital, but my name is Galiano Tiramani. I'm one of the founders of Boxabl. We set out on the Boxabl journey in 2017. Started working on the project. I currently live in Las Vegas, where we're setting up this big factory here. My background is just a lot of different entrepreneurial ventures. Actually, nothing previously related to building construction at all. But some of my projects have been pretty successful. One of the more successful ones was actually a company related to Bitcoin that I started back in 2013. And then, at some point in time, just kind of started working on this building construction solution. And it just kept evolving and getting better and better. And we got more and more traction. And now we are putting up a massive factory right down the street from us here. So, very exciting times. Going to be a crazy year getting this big factory turned on.
Yeah, I bet so. I can only imagine how much work it is to lay out floor designs, plans, and pull it all together. So, Galiano, what started all of this, right? Bitcoins, to modular manufacturing, a product that can be shipped and built all within that day. Where did it come from? Talk to me about the idea. Where did you see a need? What was the problem you were trying to solve?
Well, actually, the original idea came about back in Connecticut, where we're originally from. The company, was founded by myself, my father, Paolo, and another guy named Kyle. Paolo originally built a traditional modular house back in Greenwich, Connecticut, and he just experienced a whole bunch of problems with the process. Not only just problems in the traditional construction processes, but mainly with the shipping of the wide load room modules. And he just said, this doesn't make sense. The road is not designed for a 15-foot load. And as a result, when they try to ship these big room modules, it becomes very expensive and cumbersome, and it's not really a scalable solution. So he came up with the original idea to fold the house up to make it shippable. And that was really the initial core innovation that we needed to make everything else possible. Without that, it was a non-starter. And we think that, building construction needs to be compatible with the, mass production factory. And the first step to making that possible is to make it so that you can actually ship the room module from the factory to the job site.
Sure. And give me some background on everybody. So background in construction, engineering. I mean, coming up with a concept to build that you can ship a house you can ship down the road, that you can unfold once you get to the location. There's some serious engineering involved here. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on the people that are behind the scenes here?
So the other two engineers are the other two founders. Like I mentioned, it's Paolo and Kyle. They are, experts in 3D solid modeling on the computer. So everything we build gets made in 3D before we build it. Kyle came from a background of residential building construction, so he has actual experience, on a real job site. Paolo and I don't. Paolo, also an engineer, expert in SolidWorks, has a background in intellectual property licensing. So essentially, for the past 30 years, he's been an inventor who invented products, prototype them, patent them, and then licensed or sold the patents to companies that manufactured and sold those products. So he's had some pretty big successes with those products, and a long history of invention and defendable intellectual property.
Sure. So why don't you walk us through what Boxabl is doing? Tell us a little bit about, what the product is, give us the overview. And for everybody out there, we're going to show you some inside looks, some videos, things that are happening. We'll talk about the state of where you are with manufacturing and your investment funds that you guys have been raising. But I think first off, why don't you lay the landscape on what your units are and how they're going to be used?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, we wanted to solve that shipping problem. So we engineered room modules that fold up from 20 feet wide down to 8.5 feet wide. The reason for 8.5 feet is that's the magic number to avoid being an oversized load on the highway and to avoid incurring a lot of extra costs associated with that, which include special permits, travel restriction, time restrictions, route restrictions, follow cars, police escorts, just a whole lot of problems when you're trying to ship a wide load. So our product, which you can actually see right behind me here, is a 20-foot wide room that ships to site, ready to go, unfolds very quickly from the 8 feet to the 20 feet, and it's shows up complete. So that means kitchen, bathroom, electric, all of it is done in the factory before it arrives on site, and the setup is very simple. If it's okay, I'll just jump over to YouTube and play a quick video so people can get an idea of what it looks like.
Let's do it.
Am I good to play it?
Yeah, go ahead. You got it up on the screen. Cool. You can make it full screen so we can see all of it.
Let me try that.
There you go.
So yeah, so here's a unit that we installed in Texas, and you can kind of just see how simple this is. You take off the packaging and you just unfold it, and it's done. And the back portion of that kind of wasn't folded is where the finished stuff is. So like kitchen bathroom, is it all in there in the uncompressed space, and then all the empty space in the room is folded up. So uh, you know bed and couch doesn't come included, but that kitchen's in there when it arrives on site. The bathroom's in there. Everything is done. The idea for Boxable is to eventually have a building system where we mass produce different size room modules with different interior configurations that can stack and connect, multi-stories into really big buildings, and basically try and build any building anywhere on the planet with our system. However, we're starting out with the Casita product, and that's the one that you're seeing right now. That's just a small 20 by 20 room module, studio apartment, kitchen, bathroom, bed, and couch. And the idea was to start with that, learn our craft, target the backyard housing market that's growing quickly in California as a result of changes to laws there. I make it very friendly to backyard ADUs. So this is what we're kind of starting with, and we announced this product last year sometime. People just really went crazy about it, and we never expected the kind of reaction that we got, which has resulted in thousands and thousands of orders and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful product. So tell me, can you add or take apart as needed, or as things change in the future with this?
Yeah, so definitely the plan is a building system where we would mass produce these room modules that are getting all the heavy lifting done for the builder, 90% complete before it arrives on site. They're kind of architecturally neutral, universal building boxes. You can stack and connect different room modules. You can connect them or disconnect them at a later date as well. So really lots of possibilities here with this system that we're developing.
Yeah, and walk me through the makeup of the system. I don't believe that's traditional sheetrock and siding that I'm looking at.
Yeah. So actually, after we figured out this shipping solution, we moved on to innovating in other areas, and that resulted in re-engineering of the building completely. So this is not a traditional lumber frame building like you might see, in most of North America. We're using different stuff, and really the reason to use different stuff was to make something that was more compatible with, factory automation, mass production, because we see a huge opportunity here to transition all building construction into an efficient factory assembly line process. Because right now we're just building houses and buildings one at a time by hand. It's essentially a guy out in the sun or the rain with a ladder and a nail gun, and that's just not an efficient way to do anything. That's not how any other modern product is made. Televisions, cars, sneakers, everything is mass produced on an assembly line. As a result, it's readily available. It's low cost. But housing is really the last big industry that is still pre-factory. So we think it represents a huge opportunity. Let me just show another video real quick, if that's all right.
Yeah,
let me know when I can hit play. So
good. And blow it up full screen. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a video I just searched right before the show here. This is the Ford F-150 factory. So this is how they build automobiles. It's really the best, example of modern mass production. So you can see this is like next level, crazy town, automation, robots everywhere, all that thing. That's, how everyone builds, cars and other things. But you look at the next most advanced housing factory, aside from some new startups like myself, no one's even close. The modern housing factories look like they're out of a different century than these automobile factories and the factories that make other products. So, we did re-engineer it. We picked all new materials. These are laminated panel system, where basically we have all components that are pre-formed by computer-controlled equipment, like cutting, bending, different equipment to create like perfectly formed subcomponents that then rapidly assemble perfectly, precision, accurately on the assembly line to create a process that we think is very compatible with full automation down the line.
Yeah, for sure. So the automobile industry, we use that a lot as an example of how and where we build. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But I guess my first question is, when you get into these different building materials that are not the traditional building materials, how is that working when you're breaking from traditional materials with the codes and approvals?
Yeah. So what the building code is essentially is a list of prescribed building methods. So it says in there, hey, if you want to build using this material and this piece of wood and 18 inches apart and whatever, do it this way and you're good to go. What it also says in there is, we're not limiting you to building with our methods. You can build another way. You just have to prove that it's strong and safe. So, that's part of the process for us in getting the company started, is a whole lot of third-party testing to make sure this is strong and safe. So, that's part of the process with us for getting up and running. And the cool thing about that is we've kind of gone through and tweaked the building as we've developed it. We've gone through several versions of prototypes, and we've been able to dial in all the different variables that we needed. So we think our building outperforms on wind ratings. It outperforms on energy ratings, on fire resistance, on water resistance. If we chose a certain building material after doing research and it did not do something we needed, we changed it, or we tweaked it, or we changed the thickness or the type of material. And what we've come up with, we think, is very far ahead of what else is out there. And, part of the plan for the company is to do real mass production and scale. And in order to do that, we need a building product that works everywhere, that's approved for everywhere. So we actually have to meet the most strict of all the codes in all the areas. Like right now, if you build a building in Miami, it's going to be built for high winds. If you build a building in California, it might not be built for high winds. It might be built differently to help with earthquakes. So we tried to create a product that can resist the high winds and resist the earthquakes and everything else. So it's kind of an ongoing evolution, but I think where we're at right now with this version of the product, it's pretty amazing. And pretty soon we'll be publishing third-party test data to kind of prove all those claims as well.
Sure. So that you're going to go through the third-party approval process, and the idea is you're going to build to the most stringent codes in the country, so your product can just be used anywhere and everywhere. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what we want to do, and we're going through that process right now. It basically consists of us making panels and then the testing company breaking panels and doing every test under the sun.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love it. I love it. All right, everybody, listen, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Galiano, why are we live on Twitch?
Oh, Twitch is, the hottest place right now for live streaming action.
You're right. It is the hottest place, especially if you're younger, right? Most of us older folks don't know about Twitch, but the young people aren't coming to us, so we're going to them on a regular basis, and we're live streaming into universities across this country, which is great. So everything we talk about here on Dave Cooper Live is about moving the ball forward. Who's doing it better? Who's doing it different? What are the great ideas? and we talk about our successes and our failures as well. And hopefully we are inspiring the younger generation to join us, because this is cool stuff. We are the last frontier for innovation. We are tired of being in last place, Galiano, and I'm glad that you may not think that, but you are proving that we have a long ways to go, and you're taking us out of last place, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's go to a couple comments, see who's out there, and say hello to a few people this morning. We got Joe Butler in the house. Whoop, whoop. First in the comments on DC Live. Hey, what's happening, Joe? Joe Butler is one of our sponsors, so I'm glad you showed up today. Forward Solutions Group. Joe and Ben Hershey, you guys rock. I'm so happy that we're working together. All right, we're at YouTube, and we got a comment here that hasn't popped up before. Ergo Desk. Wood isn't the solution for sustainable modular. Now, there's a debate that we could have on this show with a lot of people. I can tell you that. Love it, love it, love it. We got Krista Price. Hey, what's happening, Krista? Good morning from Stream Logistics in Arizona. Thrilled to be here and hear more about the future of Boxable. I love it. I love it. I told you, man. Twitch is hot. You want to know why it's hot, Galiano? The head of the NAHB, Greg Ugaldi, joined us from Twitch today. What is happening, Greg Ugaldi? Thank you, Dave and Jen. Greg is always out busy working for our codes and working with the politicians and people across this country to help us better what we're doing. So big thumbs up to Greg. He's on the show once a month, giving us updates from across the country, which I love. All right, we got Joel Hutchins. Great work. Very exciting times and a fresh approach. What's happening, Joel? All right. Question number one. Tom Reddy asks, what are your walls constructed with?
Yeah, so basically everything's based off of structurally insulated panel principles, which is laminated panel, usually with EPS foam. So we really like that approach, and lots of existing kind of data on that for us to analyze, and then we tweaked it a little bit. So essentially, this is CNC formed sheets, galvanized sheet steel with a special paint coating. Those pieces of sheet steel are laid out on a conveyor system where they kind of clip together into each other. Then polyurethane adhesive is extruded out, and EPS foam blocks that make up kind of the core of the wall are laid down. Those are also formed by a computer-controlled hot wire cutter. And then another layer of steel, and then a special type of ceramic board for the interior wall in place of sheetrock. The ceramic board has, some better qualities, importantly, mold and water resistance. So that makes up like a full wall panel. So like back here, like this whole wall here would all be formed in one single big laminated piece. So they're not smaller panels kind of splined together. They're just one big thing. And then around the perimeter of that sandwich panel that I described is PVC extrusion that serves as an end cap to the panel, a hinge and for where it folds, and a gasket so they can kind of seal up like a car door. Right. So all the panels are made out of that same stuff. And, by doing it that way, we really, outperform on those, metrics that I mentioned earlier, energy efficiency, fire, et cetera. And we have a very precision subcomponents that we think are very compatible with automation. So pretty cool, very different than what everyone else is doing. And I'm sure that it will continue to change over time as well as we go through ongoing, R&D.
Sure. The thing is, Galiano, you said a couple key things there that I want to touch on, and then we'll get to some more comments and questions. But when we actually look at a building such as yours, and you said that these are full sheets, right? It's not a bunch of 4x8s put together, 4x10s. They're full sheets. So one, that reduces the chances of water issues. Yeah. Right. And two, does it speed up your process to put this together in a more productive, efficient manner, because you truly are designing for manufacturer assembly? And that's kind of one of Joel's comments in here.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically gone from hundreds of little pieces of wood, thousands of nails to these bigger blocks and sheets that all, connect together. And the way they connect together with this, adhesive for the lamination process results in something that's just so strong and rock solid, because the way the adhesive bonds, it actually makes a mechanical bond, which means that the glue works its way into the tiny little kind of micro cracks in the substrate, and then hardens, and it's not reversible. So at that point, you have like all these little piece of glue kind of grabbing onto the substrate that it's laminated to, and you just get this big single piece of material that's just incredibly strong. There's not a situation where you're going to be going down the highway and it's going to kind of like a nail's going to be rattling out of a piece of wood and sheetrock and it's going to crack. None of that's going to happen because it's all just one rock solid laminated block. So we really love that technology.
Yeah, for sure. So let's dive into the technology and the system a little bit more. So the units are built, right? How many different types of units will you end up having, and how customizable will it be for somebody for future expansion? Let's say I build a house with you, and all of a sudden, like in my world, I got married and not had one kids, but we had twins, right? So now I needed even more space. How does that work with your solution, and how many options and how customizable will this become for people?
So what we're starting off with is just this Casita product. It's a 20 by 20 room module, kitchen, bathroom, bed, and couch. And that's really, not going to be customizable from Boxable at all. And we're in a pretty good situation where we think we have so much demand for that product that we can turn on a factory, have repeatability, crank out this same Casita product over and over. And we think we're going to sell them endlessly because there's such a huge need for affordable housing solutions. But eventually we do plan different room modules. So we'll start out with the 20 by 20 Casita. Maybe the first one will be the kitchen bathroom model. Then after that, maybe we'll just do it an empty box, an empty 20 by 20 box. Then after that, maybe we'll do it just a 20 by 20 box with 2 bedrooms in it. And then at that point, you can start sticking these room modules next to each other, stacking them, offsetting them, and get different kind of floor plans. And although the walls will always be 20 feet apart, you can't say, oh, we want one 18 feet. You can still really get extremely large number of combinations here. So after the things are going well with these 20 by 20 units, we'll hopefully roll out bigger ones, 20 by 40, 20 by 30, 20 by 60. And then at that point, you can start getting into really, I think, almost any building type. And it's cool because it gives us in the factory standardization. And for an efficient factory, you just need repeatability. You need to be manufacturing the same thing over and over again. You can't do custom stuff in a factory in most cases because it becomes very inefficient. However, because of the nature of our product is, kind of a building product, not necessarily a fully finished house, our customer, the builder, the developer, can arrange them, they can stack them, they can add exterior facades, they can add different roof pitches, they can add different decks. And we really think, we're getting the best of both worlds. We're getting a standardized, repeatable manufacturing process, but we're also getting custom buildings in the field, which is pretty great because, the other guys that are very good at, standardized manufacturing is manufactured housing, trailer homes, double wides, that kind of thing. But those, it's always that, double wide configuration of a house. They're never really able to have a system that can build different stuff. So pretty cool for us to be, set up like that. And we think that, for the same way, you don't go and order an iPhone and say, hey, I want my iPhone to be square instead of a rectangle or 1 inch longer. People don't need that level of customization for the house, and it pays dividends in the cost.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody, listen, if you're just joining us, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you're not following Boxabl, you're wrong. You should be following Boxabl, and you should be following Galiano Tiramani and what they're doing, because they are changing the way we build. They're thinking differently, and we need more of this in our industry. So with that said, please hit that like and share button. And if you're not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Now's the time, because if you couldn't watch this whole interview, guess what? You can go back and watch it tonight, tomorrow, next week, whenever you want. All right, Galiano, so let's jump into a little bit more detail here. So we've designed the house. We got our casitas. I deliver it. What am I putting this on? Is it the same traditional site work that every other home has to go through? Same foundation? Walk us through the process there.
Yeah. So, a lot of stuff we're doing is different, and we think we have a number of innovations and solutions, all the way throughout the process, starting all the way from when we manufacture it. But essentially, to prepare for this building on your site, you just need to kind of plug it in when it arrives. It can be placed down just throw it down on the grass or on concrete or the driveway or whatever. It doesn't actually need a foundation. However, in most cases, to have a permitted, legal, mortgageable building, it needs to be permanently affixed to the foundation. So in that case, these buildings are compatible with any foundation type, because the floor on them is very strong, very rigid, can clear span, self-supporting floor. So that means you can go from a full slab all the way down to just a few piers around the perimeter. And that makes things a lot better, because you can go with whatever the lowest cost solution is. And then you just need to kind of plug in the utilities. So power, water, waste, that all plugs in on the exterior wall of the building, not under the floor. We thought that having the connections under the floor made things a little more difficult when kind of syncing up with that foundation. And I know that's how some other modular does it, through the floor. Additionally, the way our units are delivered to site is pretty cool. We think that our drivers can drop off these room modules on site with no heavy equipment. They don't have to meet the property owner, the contractor, the crane, none of that. They can just show up, drop the box off, and be on their way to the next job. So that makes things a little more efficient as well. Also, we have a system that we can unfold the unit without any crane or forklift as well. So that helps with the cost, reducing the cost of the heavy equipment. Additionally, the units themselves, when they're folded up, actually have forklift pockets in them. So they can just be lifted and moved around with a forklift. That's good too. A forklift is generally cheaper than a crane, because you operate the forklift yourself, and you don't need to rent the operator as well. So a whole bunch of little kind of problems like that we're trying to solve along the way as well.
What is the weight of one of these?
It's looking like about 12,000 pounds. So that's significantly less weight than a traditional manufactured home. And
sure.
that all helps. That helps every step from shipping to the equipment required on site to set it up. So that's something we're very conscious of in trying to reduce that weight constantly.
And so two things out of this. You said it could sit right on the ground. So the material that's being used is not going to rot away, is what I'm understanding from that comment. It's termite resistant, bug resistant. No, don't know.
I think that you could just throw it down on like some blocks. So for example, this one behind me is sitting down on, I think, 6 wood blocks.
Yeah.
So, obviously if you throw it down in a swamp or something, it's not going to survive forever. But it's got that, galvanized steel with the special paint coating. Right now we're using this Kynar 500 paint coating, which actually has a 15-year warranty right up on the ocean. So that's cool as well.
So I know there's some comments and questions out there. We're going to get to those in just a moment. But I want to ask, can you relocate these? Once they're built, they're there. Can you take them apart, fold them back up, put them back on a truck, and move it to Say you're moving from California to Pittsburgh. I don't know. Can I take my house?
Yeah, you totally can. The ones we've built so far, we've folded them, unfolded them, moved them all over the place, displayed them different areas, and they're totally good to do that. And I think that all for the customer, that all just depends on what the intent is. If they're gonna, spend the money on a foundation, if they're gonna spend the money to kind of customize them and do permanent, modifications, then it might not make sense to fold them up and take them away. But if you're thinking, I want to keep this here in my backyard for 5 years and take it away later, I'm just gonna unfold it and plug it in with an extension cord and not bolt it down or anything. Yeah, you could totally do that. We think that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, there you have it, right? I mean, we got kids getting ready to go to college and stuff. I'll buy a piece of land. We'll put the house out there for college for 4 years, break it down, bring it back, what have you. All right, let's go to some more comments here, and then we're going to come back. We'll show you some more stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the new factory that you guys are building in Nevada. I'm going to ask you about that white unicorn sitting over your left shoulder over there. So we're also going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about the builder network or whether this is direct to consumer. But first, let's go and see some more questions and comments here. All right. So we got Gilbert Mayer. What is your wall thickness and type of insulation? So I guess more R value, right? Because you already talked a little bit about what the walls are made up of.
Yeah. So these are 6-inch walls with EPS foam, 1 pound density. So that usually I think has an insulating value of about R4 per inch. So nominal R is like, 20, let's say 24 for the wall. However, that doesn't really tell the whole story here. Because the way the walls are built has a big impact on the performance. So, for example, if you look at our wall and you compare it to a traditional stud wall, and let's say they both have insulation that's rated at R24. Our building has an extremely tight envelope. There is no air escaping unless you want it to. It also has no thermal bridging because basically our entire panel has uninterrupted EPS foam across the whole thing. Traditional wall, if you had R24 insulation there, and then you have studs in there, those studs are very low R, and when it averages out, the performance is much worse. And if you were to, for example, look at a house with heat vision goggles, you could see energy escaping directly through those studs, and you can actually even see that in like cold climates. If there's snow on a building, and you'll see the heat from the inside of the house transmitting through the studs, and then you'll see it melting just kind of where the studs are. So our buildings perform much higher energy rating, and we've done an initial kind of Energy Star audit on that, and we're going to do another one later and publish those results. But I think what we have here is really a best case for energy efficiency. SIP, structurally insulated panels, are well known for having good energy efficiency. We've taken it a step further because we don't even have any of those lumber splines that a traditional SIP building would have, which would lessen the energy efficiency. So, pretty good.
Awesome, Gilbert. Thank you for the question. We got Aaron Peterson says hello. Love the amazing growth and story you have created. Aaron,
thank you.
You owe me a follow-up. No, just teasing you, buddy. I hope all is well. All right, moving on. Gilbert actually has another question here, and then Joel had a question. How do you solve your slope requirements on your flat roof?
So that's something that we've spent a lot of time thinking about, and we understand that there's a number of kind of different requirements depending on where you are. You can be required to have a different roof pitch in a different area, and roofs can also determine kind of architectural style. So right now we've left it just flat, and if people want to add something on site, we're going to provide them plans and instructions to do that. We also have another system that will come with the unit that will just create kind of like the bare minimum slope. But as it exists now, it is snow load rated, it is watertight, it is energy efficient, even with that flat roof.
So with the seams where things fold, is there maintenance with that? Like with cars, they say you should always, I guess, lube up your gaskets after so many years and things. Is there maintenance on these?
We don't think so. We think between the gasket system and the shape of it, which should not allow water to kind of drip down with gravity into the building, that you'll be totally good to go. And we've picked some gasket materials that are kind of warranted for a long time and are used in other purposes where it's able to be sealed up for a long time.
Perfect. Love it. All right, Tom Reed, what's happening, Tom? Good to see you. Tom from Howick, one of our sponsors. Hey, the sponsors are in the house. We can't do what we do without all of you. So cold form rolling machine. So Thomas Reed from Howick, thanks so much for tuning in. Super nice guy too. If you don't know him, you should know him for sure. All right, Joel Hutchins. Joel, without a question, is almost hard to believe. I'm surprised we didn't just get one. All right, here we are with Joel. Question: how will computational design linked to the digital fabrication process improve your customization, if at all? Your CNC cutter and process doesn't care if it's a circle or a square. It almost rhymes, Joel. Well done, mate.
I think we'll have, more and more customization, as we grow. The same way as you might have options, of the seat color or color of your car when you buy it. And then we're just going to kind of see what happens, see where the customers take us. All we know now is I have a list of over 30,000 people that want the Casita. So while I'm starting this business, I can be laser focused on the Casita, figuring everything out around that, including things like supply chain and keeping my raw materials and, keeping my instructions simple for my laborers. And, a whole lot goes into it. And we're fortunate to be in a position where we've created a standardized product that people are interested in enough that we can, just make those.
Yeah, for sure. All right, love it. So let's get into some more of the bowels of what's going on. Tell us about the manufacturing facility, how big it is, what's going into it, what's the thought process, and then after that, let's talk about: is there room for expansion, whether where you're at, or are you looking at other places in the country and the world? So go ahead. Let's talk about the factory you're currently building, because you're not in it now, right?
No. So right now I'm sitting in our, original warehouse building that we've been in for a few years, doing, prototyping, testing, engineering, all that kind of thing, and some early, production manufacturing. But we are fortunate enough that we are setting up a large factory about 5 minutes away from here. That's in North Las Vegas. It's a 170,000 foot building, brand new building. At the moment, they are just fitting out the interior. So that means building the office space, building the bathrooms, putting in electrical, putting in cranes and other big equipment. So pretty exciting. The crew's over there every day building away, and we expect to get our certificate of occupancy in a month or so and move in and start building. And that factory is really a very big way to start.
Yeah.
So we're basically, it's a little bit crazy because we're going from nothing, having really not sold any significant amount of product or anything, into an absolutely massive factory that will produce, hopefully if we hit our targets, thousands of Casitas and hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. So really very grateful that we were able to get ourselves into that position. I can show you a quick video now on YouTube if you'll put up Dave my YouTube. All right. So yeah, so this is it. Okay, I'll do that.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, so just a quick video of the new building here, so you guys can kind of get an idea of the scale of where we're starting. So this is 170,000 foot building. So that's like, you know, four,
Right.
football fields. Pretty cool. Very exciting. And, we are, kind of figuring everything out, including the manufacturing processes, because, as you know, we're not building with, lumber framing. We're using all new methods, all new materials, all new equipment, a lot of stuff that's not even traditionally used for building construction. And we're going to move in there hopefully in a month or so, start hiring people to be kind of laborers, hiring several hundred people, and pretty cool.
So you'll be up and operate. So you guys have pending orders, right? So you have some deliverables to achieve. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we have, that wait list I mentioned earlier with 30,000 people on it. About 2,000 of those people have actually paid a small deposit. So, that kind of shows that wait list is pretty serious, high quality, lead list for us. And then we also got two big orders from the federal government. So that will be our first real customer. That's what we're going to be focused on for the rest of this year, is delivering that order to them. They've ordered about over $9 million worth of casitas. So that's pretty great. Makes again, there's been a lot of, obviously hard work through this, and a few lucky breaks as well. And that was one of them, because, that allows us as a company to just focus really on manufacturing. I don't really have to worry too much about selling to the general public. I don't have to worry about modular certification and financing right this second, because we have this first order to do, where it's a use case where, that stuff doesn't matter. The government doesn't need a mortgage on this. So,
right.
It's great.
And that's great, because I always said the government, unlike other countries where the government stepped in and said, hey, you're going to build a certain way or you need to achieve these goals, that's not going to necessarily happen here, but they can lead the way and show people there's a better way. So the fact that they have placed an order of that scale with you is something that we need to stay on top of, Galiano. So I'm going to be there every step of the way with you. And don't worry, I won't make you put me on salary or anything. We'll just showcase, because I think it's super important that that we showcase that even the government's looking at better ways to build that are more efficient. And again, these aren't trailers, these aren't FEMAs. They're not going to end up in a dump. They can be relocatable. So disasters, all of these different scenarios that come up from around the world, this is a product that can be reused over and over again. So I absolutely love that. So are you selling direct to consumer or direct through a builder network then, outside of the federal government orders?
Well, we just have such a crazy amount of interest. It's good because we really have our pick. However, at the end of the day, an end user who wants to build this is likely always going to need a contractor to do the permitting, do the site work, etc. Boxabl, we don't want to do any of that. We don't want to do any custom stuff. We want to remain as the building manufacturer and be really good at mass producing low-cost room modules. And then we want to have a large network of partners who are, licensed contractors to do the rest of it. So, although we are soliciting interest from end users, retail customers, I think in most cases, we're going to be, helping connect them with tools they need to build this stuff like a contractor. And then I think, a lot of times it'll actually be the contractor buying a unit from us to install it for kind of an end customer. But, I think we're going to sell to a lot of, end users, and we're going to hopefully have a lot of, bigger quantity orders for B2B sales as well.
Yeah, I love it. So there you go. I put it across the bottom. If you want to invest in Boxabl, you can go to boxabl.com/invest, which I think is great. So Galiano, we're kind of hitting on a bunch of different things here. The last thing I want to ask you, maybe you can say it, maybe you cannot, is cost structure. What can one expect to pay for a casita delivered on a foundation? And how does that foundation get put in place? Does Boxabl do it? Does Boxabl have a network of trades they'll work with, or is that up to whoever is purchasing the casita from you?
Yeah, I mean, Boxable would never make a foundation. However, we plan to have a resource on our website where you can easily locate contractors that would, do that job for you, and hopefully they'll be reviewed and also kind of trained or approved by Boxable as well. So that's yeah.
How about cost structure? What are we looking at
Oh,
for one of these?
yeah. So, originally we were thinking we would retail them for $50,000. The install cost, I kind of tell people it can range dramatically from 5,000 up to 50,000, and that's just depends on the local market, the permitting costs, the foundation, how hard is the site to access, all that kind of stuff. What you want to do to kind of customize it. One, kind of wrench in the gears right now, of course, is the raw material pricing that we're seeing in the market and commodities prices. It's pretty crazy, of course, and unusual. And we never expected, steel prices to double and lumber prices to triple. So we're working through that, and we'll see if the retail price has to change. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, I'm not worried about it for the company, because this is a problem that everyone has to face. Rising with raw material prices is not just a Boxable problem; it's a everyone problem. So I think at the end of the day, our principles will make us come out ahead. And those principles are the scale, the standardization, the repeatability, the bulk purchasing power, the automation, the shipping solution, the re-engineering of the product, and the simplification of the building materials used, and all of those kind of principles. I think hopefully at the end of the day, Boxable wins. And what we're trying to win here is housing affordability. We want to create the lowest price housing solution, not just for the U.S., but hopefully for the entire world.
Love it. Well, listen, Galiano, we are out of time, but I really appreciate you. One last question. What is your one thing? If you were to part anything on all of the wonderful people that have tuned in to watch you and those that are going to tune in later, what is your one piece of advice or your one thing that you would advise them?
My advice in general when starting a business or doing anything is to be just incredibly persistent, and that will kind of beat out any other shortcomings. If you just relentlessly keep trying at something, and I mean really relentlessly, you're going to come out ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And I know I said one thing, but tell me about that unicorn. It's still staring at me every time I look over your shoulder. I see a white unicorn behind you.
Oh yeah, look at this guy. This is just a little Boxable mascot that we like to have, hang around the office. And I'll tell people, if you do like what we're doing and you're interested in it, we are accepting investment. You can check out our website and buy shares in the company. Hopefully, Boxable can become a unicorn one day.
Yeah, and I'm going to put that up there right now. I love it. You should put one of those unicorns on every sink or when you ship the house,
every house
should go with it, right?
Yeah, every house gets a unicorn. Yep.
And every truck should strap one onto the front like they do at Christmas time with bears and all that. All right, everybody. Galiano, this was awesome. Thank you so much, man. I wish you and Boxable and your team there much success. You guys are doing a wonderful thing. You're helping drive this industry forward. And by the looks of the turnout today, a lot of people are very interested in hearing what you guys are up to. So for everybody else out there, we will see you Friday on Building Science with Mark Barenaked Willie, BS Friday. Galiano, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you after the outro, and everybody else, we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thanks, guys.